From the Pep Radio Newsroom, this is the Lunch Hour News Blast for April 17th, 2025. The regime's attack on the LGBTQ plus community marches on. Donald Trump, the candidate, pledged to get transgender insanity the hell out of our schools and keep men out of women's sports. Donald Trump, the president, wasted little time delivering on his promise to address a topic that seemed to resonate across party lines. Trump issued an executive order on the day his second term began that called for restoring biological truth to the federal government and signed another on Wednesday titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports. The federal government now has wide latitude across multiple agencies to penalize federally funded entities that deprive women and girls of fair athletic opportunities. The war on women's sports is over, Trump declared. Probably not. Legal challenges like the ones against other executive orders aimed at transgender people are likely. And on Wednesday, the Trump administration sued Maine for not complying with the government's push to ban transgender athletes in girls' and women's sports. The threshold for noncompliance: any entity that denies female students an equal opportunity to participate in sports and athletic events by requiring them, in the women's category, to compete with or against or to appear unclothed before males. The Education Department announced less than 24 hours after the order's signing that it was investigating San Jose State University, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, all of which had Title IX violations reported against them for allowing transgender athletes to compete. It also investigated Maine and last week referred the case to the Justice Department. Every administration has the authority to issue its own interpretations of the landmark legislation, best known for its role in ensuring gender equity in athletics and preventing sexual harassment on campuses. Given the push-pull of how recent presidencies view Title IX, it has created a whiplash effect. Joe Biden signed an executive order on his first day in office that interpreted sex as gender identity under Title IX, a move that protected transgender athletes from being discriminated against if they wanted to participate in a sport that aligned with their gender identity, not their sex at birth. Yet it took more than 3 years for Title IX regulations saying that to be finalized. And when they lacked specifics, sports, and were put on hold by courts. Well, Trump's order explicitly states that sex means the immutable biological classification as either male or female. Sex is not a synonym for and does not include the concept of gender identity. The order adds that sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and incontrovertible reality. This coming from someone who never got past high school biology. The decision marks a significant shift in the way Title IX is viewed and, more explicitly, how it will be enforced. How many transgender athletes will be affected? Well, that number is hard to pin down. The NCAA, for example, does not track data on transgender athletes among the 544,000 currently competing on 19,000 teams at various levels across the country, though NCAA President Charlie Baker testified in Congress in December that he was aware of fewer than 10 active NCAA athletes who identified as transgender. A 2019 survey of high school students by the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, better known as GLSEN, noted just 5% of respondents said they participated in a sport that aligned with their gender identity. A 2022 report by the Williams Institute estimated that about 300,000 high school age students ages 13 to 17 identified as transgender. How many of those young people participate in sports is unknown, but it is likely a tiny fraction. Now that's the News Blast at this hour. We'll be following up with additional details about this story in our evening News Blast. For now, if you are watching our news videos on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the Pep Radio channel. Up next, the National Weather Service forecast for the Meadville area on Pep Radio.